Monday, I went to Mercy to visit somebody, and as I got into the building, I walked up to the elevator, and there were several people standing around while I was waiting, and I looked, and the button to go up was already pressed, and so I just stood there and waited. And soon I heard ding, and the doors opened. And most of the people around me just ignored this and kept doing what they were doing. But one guy starts forward, and I let him go on first. And then I got on, and I took the only space that was left in this very full elevator. And I looked over at the panel, and the number that I wanted was already lit, and so I just settled in for the ride up 7 floors. Now, in a moment, I take in my surroundings, just a quick glance as I'm looking around. And on the elevator behind me are 6 women. I'm pretty sure they're all younger than me. And I'm guessing that they work at the hospital because they're all wearing blue scrubs. And they got on the first floor, the ground floor, not the main floor. And so they must work there. I have no idea what they do at the hospital, but, you know, I know they work there. And so then I look at, directly across from me at this gentleman who got on at the same time I did. And I'm looking at him, I'm noticing things about him. He's got to be in his early 70s maybe. And he's got the same haircut on top as I do. But on the side, he's got hair that kind of comes down into this little ponytail. Okay? He's like 4 inches shorter than me, or 5 inches. So he's this cute little old man. Okay? And it's the only way I can describe him. And so the guy looks back at the rest of the elevator, and then he looks at me and he grins, and he says, "I like our odds." Yeah, nobody laughed in the elevator. This is a moment of uncomfortable silence as we all were trying to figure out what he just said. And then the moment became like a lifetime, right? And then sensing that maybe he just, stepped in it, he says, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Ding! The doors open, and he walks out. And the doors close. I'm the only one on this elevator with these 6 ladies that were on as we start, and I have no idea what they're thinking. And of course, what happens next in the story would depend on what kind of movie we're in, right? So if we were in a love story, one of the women would chime in. She'd say, "I like our odds too," right? And then she would have introduced herself, and now never mind that this has never ever happened to me before, right? And never mind that I'm married. Movies don't care about that stuff. That's what would happen in a love story. It makes the drama bigger, right? If we're in a comedy, then one of the women would have said, "Well, too bad he left. He was cute." And the rest of the movie would be about me having no luck anywhere with anyone, right? Now, if we're in an action movie, he would have said, "I like our odds." And over the loudspeaker in the elevator, it would have said, "May the odds be ever in your favor," and carnage would ensue, right? But we're in a drama, and I have no way out. And this guy has just made me complicit in his drama, whatever that is. And then he left, and I'm wondering where the cameras are. I'm like looking around the elevator, am I on a show, right? What can I say? And then, ding, whew, I got out of there as quickly as I could. What a wild ride that was. Now, it was just an elevator ride, and it wasn't all that big of a deal, right? In the scheme of things, it was just a few moments of my day, a few moments of extreme tension that quickly passed. Life goes on. And I think that's often how we approach Scripture. We read it as if it was just a moment of our day. It's like a grocery list. Eggs, milk, butter, flour, oil. Some of us will read that list and we'll see the ingredients that we have to pick up when we go to the store. Others will read that list and will speculate. They'll say, "Gosh, is that person making a cake? Does someone have a birthday coming up?" Changes the story, right? So which one are you when it comes to reading Scripture? Do you read a list of events? Jesus went here, Jesus went there, he taught some stuff, he healed some folk, he argued with some authority, official types. Or do you read it and like it's a movie going on in your mind? I often tell young people that when they read Scripture, they should do it in such a way that they can see the story. And for them, that's like a mental movie. And I think it helps us to see things the way that Jesus saw it, to put ourselves in that place, not just in our minds, but like visually in our minds. And if we do that with this Scripture, then the encounter with a demon would be this big, dramatic moment of the story. We don't really get that with the way that Mark tells it, but it would be huge, right? Because Jesus, this happened in a church, so he would have walked out of the church and into the parking lot, and the short, bald guy with the ponytail would look at Jesus and he'd say, "Hey, I know who you are, Jesus. What are your intentions with us?" And Jesus would go, "Silence." And then the little old man would transform into this giant, evil demon as tall as the building. And a 10-minute battle would ensue with lots of building damage and with cars flipped over in the parking lot. And Jesus would look battle-weary, but he'd be victorious. It would be a wild ride. And while there was a lot less damage in the actual encounter, the drama was just as big. Because Jesus was so powerful that he made every hero that we've ever known look like Shirley Temple. Just this cute little thing, right? Jesus overpowered this demon with his words. "Silence. Come out." And the news about Jesus spread. And what news was that? Well, let's look at verse 27 again. We'll have them put them up on the screen. Everyone was shaken. Well, there's no surprise there, right? And questioned among themselves, "What's this? A new teaching with authority." Wait, what? It's not the demon destroyer Jesus that people are talking about? It's not the "I'll silence him with just the word silence"? No, the teacher is the hero. That's how it should be, right? But not what we'd expect. Well, the authority that gives Jesus power over the demons is the same authority that gives such weight to what he teaches. The authority comes from his divinity, though they have no idea of that yet. And all of that is interesting to me. But it's also interesting because of where it takes place in the story. Mark tells us about this encounter very early in his narrative, chapter 1. The only thing that has happened so far in chapter 1 of Mark's gospel are these things. Jesus was baptized, and Jesus calls a few disciples. That's it. That's all that's happened. Jesus then goes to church, goes out to the parking lot, and becomes the Terminator. Mark is an action movie. Actually, there's a lot of truth to this, because Mark pushes the story very quickly. It takes off like the Hulk ride. No chance for you to catch your breath. It just goes. His story is a story of quick action and building confrontation. Jesus is a man with a plan, and we are along for a wild ride. And he even uses several words throughout the gospel to make sure that we know that the pace of this is fast. Even in these few short verses, Mark is filled with words like immediately and suddenly, and then, I saw another one as I was reading here. Right away, he says. Words like this all the way through. All the way through. Mark is a wild, high-paced ride. And as you read Scripture, I invite you to engage it in this way. I don't think you should treat it like a grocery list. I want you to be the director and play the movie in your mind as you read. See what happens between the people in the story. Give yourself the time to let the characters develop and to speak to each other in the way that you think you'd see it in a movie. See the action or the drama or the comedy, and watch for the describing words that give you clues about what kind of story this is. It will change the way that you digest the story, and it will change the way that it shapes you in response to that. With this story, what is really the first time that we get to encounter Jesus in a public place, in Mark anyway, we are being prepared to see a God on earth that has a plan and is ready to execute it. Jesus is a man on a mission. And as his followers, that means we're going to be on a wild ride. We're supposed to embody this mission the way Jesus did, at least some of the time, right? It's not the only picture that we have of Jesus, but it is one that's very important. And this is one that we rarely explore, this Jesus man of action. We are to be a people of action. We are to be a people who do things suddenly and immediately and right away. We're to speak boldly to evil and to teach with authority. We are on a wild ride, according to Mark. Are you ready for it? Are you ready to be an action hero? Are you ready for a wild ride? Ding. Elevator doors open. Let's go. Would you pray with me, please? God, we give you thanks that you are there and you want to have us be a part of your action here on earth. Help us to say yes to this wild ride, and even though we might be anticipating the moments of the beginning here where you really want us to do something, Lord, we've gotten on it because we know that it will be worth it. So Lord, help us to say yes and to go boldly and do things suddenly and right away and immediately. In your name we pray. All right, it's now time for us to do something boldly, and that is to give back to God as the ushers come forward for our offering.